There is a power inside you so vast, so limitless, that if you were to truly understand it, your entire life would change, not gradually, but instantly. And yet, this power is rarely spoken of in its full truth. Not by teachers, not by schools, not by society. It's quietly hidden in plain sight, disguised as something ordinary, something childish, but it is the source of everything. This video is about that exact power. Not a theory, not a wishful idea. A living, breathing force that shapes your reality every single day, whether you use it deliberately or not. Neville Goddard called it the human imagination. Not imagination as fantasy or escape, but as creation itself. And the truth is, most people go their entire lives without realizing that the thing they've been overlooking is the very thing that creates their world. You've felt it before, those moments when you imagined something, and it happened. You brushed it off as coincidence. But what if it wasn't? What if that was your power at work? This isn't about tricking the universe into giving you what you want. This is about remembering that you are the universe, clothed in a human identity, and your imagination is how you speak to it, how you direct it. Not one person in 1,000 truly uses this gift, but you can. You're meant to. And once you do, nothing about your life will stay the same. Neville Goddard didn't teach wishful thinking. He didn't teach toxic positivity or temporary fixes. He taught truth, the kind that rattles the bones of everything you once believed about life. He said, imagination is God. That means your imagination isn't some random tool for artists or dreamers. It is the creative force of the entire universe expressing itself through you. Every scene you hold in your mind, every feeling you dwell in, every inner conversation you repeat, it's not happening to you. It's happening through you. Neville explained that imagination is not daydreaming. It is not fantasy. It is not detachment from reality. It is the creator of reality. Consciousness is the only reality, he said, and imagination is the act of creation within the consciousness. When you imagine something with feeling, when you dwell in it long enough that it feels familiar, natural, it begins to crystallize in your external world. What you see with your eyes is just the echo. The real act, the seed of every experience, begins inside. This isn't a metaphor. It's law. A spiritual law as real as gravity. But unlike gravity, most people have never been taught how to use it. Or worse, they've been taught to suppress it, to fear it, to dismiss it as just imagination. But nothing is just imagination. Imagination is everything. From the moment we're born, the world teaches us to trust what we can see, touch, and measure. Be realistic, they say. Face facts. Don't get your hopes up. Slowly, layer by layer, we're trained to silence the very power that makes us limitless. We're handed a script. Follow this path, play by these rules, and maybe life will reward you. But imagination doesn't work by society's rules. It works by belief. And here's the thing most people never realize. You're not supposed to react to life. You're supposed to create it. But because we weren't taught that, we learned to live backwards, trying to fix the outside without changing the inside. Trying to control people, circumstances, and outcomes, without ever realizing that all of it flows from the state we live in internally. This is why many people stay stuck, not because the power isn't working, but because it's working perfectly in the direction of their unconscious assumptions. If someone believes deep down that they're not good enough, life mirrors that. Not to punish them, but to reveal where change is needed. Imagination works whether you're conscious of it or not. The problem isn't that people don't have the power. The problem is they don't use it deliberately. They've forgotten they were born with it. They've forgotten how to trust what they feel inside more than what they see outside. And that's the turning point, when you remember that your inner world is not an escape from life, but the blueprint of it. Imagination changes reality through assumption, through the feeling that something is already true. Think about it like this: when you close your eyes and imagine a scene, holding someone's hand, receiving the job offer, waking up in your dream home, and you allow yourself to feel the reality of it, your subconscious mind begins to accept it as fact. It doesn't know the difference between imagination and physical reality. It only responds to the feeling of reality. And once it accepts that new state, your life begins to shift to match it. Not always instantly, not always loudly, but inevitably. One moment, one conversation, one opportunity at a time. Neville taught this through countless stories. A woman imagines receiving a letter she longed for. Days later, it arrives. A man imagines walking through the doors of the office he wants to work in, and soon, he's hired. It's not magic, it's law. And the only requirement is persistence. You don't need to beg. You don't need to chase. You simply return to that inner scene again and again, until it becomes more real to you than the absence of it. Until it feels normal. And then it shows up, often in ways you could never plan. The world bends to match your inner assumption, not your effort. And the most beautiful part, you've already done this before. Every time you worried and it happened. Every time you doubted and life agreed. The same power that created the unwanted can now be used to create the extraordinary. There's an idea Neville shared that at first sounds strange, maybe even unsettling, but once it clicks, it changes everything. He said, everyone is you pushed out. What does that mean? It means the people in your life, their reactions, their behaviors, the roles they play, are all reflecting back your own inner beliefs and assumptions, not as punishment, but as mirrors. Life is not happening randomly. It's echoing you. So when someone pulls away, when someone criticizes or disappoints, the most powerful question is not why are they doing this, but what in me expects this? And the answer isn't always obvious. Sometimes the pattern goes back years. Sometimes it's tied to self-worth, to childhood beliefs, to moments we don't even remember. But the beauty of this truth is that you don't need to change them. You only need to change the story within yourself. When you imagine being loved, respected, chosen, not from desperation, but from knowing, the people around you begin to mirror that. Some will rise to meet you in your new state. Some may fall away. But all of it happens in service of your inner world. That's why this work is never about controlling others. It's about becoming the version of you who no longer doubts, no longer chases, no longer waits for permission to feel whole. And from that state, life rearranges itself to match your wholeness. Not because you're forcing it, but because you're being it. It works because consciousness is the only reality. That's the foundation of all of Neville's teachings. Not physical matter, not outer circumstances. Consciousness, what you are aware of, and what you accept as true within that awareness, becomes your experience. The world outside is the shadow. The real thing is the light within. When you change what you're conscious of being, when you begin to walk through life as if you are already that version of you who is loved, successful, healed, you activate the law. It's not wishful thinking. It's not pretending. It's knowing. And that knowing shifts your vibration, your decisions, your timing, your magnetism. It's like tuning into a new frequency on a radio. You don't beg the station to play different music. You just tune to a different channel. Imagination is that dial. It's how you move from one version of reality to another. And the reason it works is simple. Everything is within. You are not separate from the things you desire. You are not waiting for life to choose you. Life is waiting for you to remember your role as creator. To remember that what you hold within, lovingly, consistently, confidently, must take form without. Because it always has. Every dream you've lived, every fear you've faced, they were first imagined. Now imagine better. So how do you start using this power on purpose? You begin by no longer treating imagination like a background thought. You treat it like the main script, the real stage. When you lie in bed at night and your mind begins to wander, you catch that moment, and instead of replaying the day's stress, you drop into a scene where your desire is already fulfilled. You feel it. You linger there. You let yourself smile. You hear the words, you see the details, you allow the joy to rise up. And even if your outer world says nothing has changed, you know better. You're not planting seeds and digging them up to see if they've grown. You're watering them with faith, with attention, with feeling. You start to use your imagination deliberately, in quiet moments, in busy ones, in mundane ones. You start to live from the end, to assume the best, to speak about life not from lack, but from fullness. This doesn't mean you ignore your emotions. It means you don't let your emotions dictate your story. You let imagination lead. You become the director, not the actor waiting for cues. And in doing so, you create a new pattern, a new self-concept, a new life, all from within. Because that's where the real power always lived. Not in the world, but in your awareness of who you are. The power is already yours. It always has been. You don't need to earn it. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to fix everything before you can use it. You only need to remember. To remember that imagination is not pretend. It is not a dream. It is not a maybe. It is the law. The real you, the limitless you, is not waiting in the future. That version is here now, ready to be worn like a new outfit, lived like a new identity. You are not broken. You are not too late. You are not missing anything. The only gap between where you are and where you want to be is the state you accept as true. So choose wisely. Choose boldly. When the old story knocks, don't answer. When doubt whispers, let imagination speak louder. Not with fear, with authority. You are the operant power. You are the cause. And that makes you free. Free to love, to rise, to thrive. Not because life gave you permission, but because you finally gave it to yourself. So go within. Feel it real. And remember, imagination is not a tool you use. It is what you are. And when you use it with belief, with clarity, with trust, you don't just change your world. You become the version of you who never needed it to change to feel powerful in the first place. Let me know in the comments what you're going to start imagining differently after watching this.